spending time with her husband, friends, family, including her 12 grandchildren. In her spare time, she connects and celebrates with the women involved in motorsports, taking you behind the wall about their journey of life, racing, and how they juggle everything to make it all work. Welcome to Racing Girls Rock Podcast. Strap in, window nets up, the pedals are down, and when the green flag drops, we go.
Hello, this is Melinda Russell with the International Women's Motorsports Association, and this podcast is brought to you by Racing Junk, one of our partners at the IWMA. And today my guest is Michelle, and Michelle, I met her at PRI, and she lives in Alaska, which is very cool. She's my first guest from Alaska, so I'm excited to have Michelle on. So welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks. It's great to be here.
So, Michelle, tell me, first of all, a little bit about yourself, where you live, what do you do, your family, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, I live in Palmer, which is just outside of Anchorage here in Alaska. We just got a house last fall that is right next to the racetrack, so it's very convenient for me. I can walk to work if I want to. I have a husband and 2 kids. My daughter, Morgan, is a senior at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. She is a petroleum engineer, so I got to brag on her a little bit.
Yeah.
And then my son, Teddy, turned 10. So I've kind of got a wide range of ages there, but it's kind of neat. We've got a couple dogs, and I am currently, I still own a printing company in Fairbanks, which is where I've been living for the past 15 years. And then I run the racetrack, and then we've got a little Airbnb that we do.
So
I'm
you're
busy.
Very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, very busy between printing and racing and an Airbnb. I would think an Airbnb would be a lot of work on its own. So that's pretty cool. So the racetrack, I'm intrigued by a racetrack in Alaska. What's your season look like? When do you race? What's your timeline?
Well, actually, from what I understand, our season is very similar to probably yours and to some of the other northern tracks. We run Mother's Day to Labor Day, so it's about, 4-ish months or so. And as you know, racing is kind of a year-round thing anyhow. Even though I'm not running the events all the time, we still have a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we do. So it keeps me pretty busy, and but I really love what I do.
So tell me, how did you come to run a racetrack?
Well, my dad, originally we're from Wisconsin, and so Dad used to race at Elkhart Lake, and back in the day in Road America and stuff. And so he was kind of always into motorsports, but we were farmers originally, and that's how we got to Alaska, was through this farming project. And then my brother, who is 6 years older than me, he was racing all the time, and so he started drag racing out here at Alaska Raceway Park in 1986. And so then, racing's a family sport, so we just kind of grew up in it. And then in the early 90s, my parents went in and purchased the racetrack with a bunch of other racers from the gentleman that had built it originally. And so then our family owned it. And then they bought everybody else out a couple of years after that. And so then we've just been doing it ever since. And so I used to race when I was high school. As soon as I got my license, I was out at the track. And then when I got pregnant with my daughter, they were like, well, you can't really race anymore, which is stupid in hindsight, but you can't race. So that's when I started working in the tower. And so that was my first year as a tower guide, was in 1997. So, and I've been there ever since.
I was going to say, and all you've done is change jobs or add jobs to your list, and you're still there.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Very
And
cool.
now we've got, so we started with the drag strip. So it's the 1/4 mile drag strip. And then in 2016, we opened a 3rd-mile NASCAR oval. So now I have 2 tracks to run. And I don't know a whole lot about circle track racing, but I am learning a lot, kind of drinking water from a fire hose. So it's it's a lot of info to learn all at once.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. So how many years have you run the circle track? How many years has it been going?
This will be the 5th season.
Okay. All right.
2020, yeah, year 5.
Okay. So you're not brand new to it, but again, there's always things that come up that you hadn't expected.
Yeah, and it's getting easier. I have an amazing staff at the track, and everybody who's out there really enjoys what they do, and they're helping me become a better track operator, and my racers are helping me out, and so it's been good.
So about how many cars would you have on a typical night at either of your tracks?
Usually the drag strip has got about 60 or 70 that show up, and then the circle track is, let's see, we're at 4 classes. We're probably about 40 or so over there right now.
Okay.
It depends. We've got more cars, but not everybody always shows up at the same time. So
Right. But those are pretty good numbers, I would think, because how far away do most of those racers come from? Are they pretty much local, they're close, or do they have to drive a ways?
Most of our racers are from here in the valley, but the valley is larger than most states down in the U.S. So they'll typically come from about an hour away or so. We've got a lot of racers that come from Anchorage, and that's an hour the other direction. But we do have some dedicated racers that come from Fairbanks, which is 6 hours away, or up from the Kenai Peninsula, which is 2 or 3 hours away.
Wow. I figured you would have some that would come from at least a little bit of a distance away. Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me let's start with the circle track. What classes do you run there?
So for circle track, we have our late model class. We run a legend class, which is actually our largest class right now. We have baby grands. We run a thunder stock class, and then we just added a new class called bomber stock. And that's kind of the intro class, so we can kind of get people pulling stuff out and getting started. So we'll see how that goes.
That should be a popular class, because at least here in Michigan, that's pretty popular, the front wheel drive or 4-cylinder class, because again, people can get started for not very much money invested, and it usually goes pretty well. So I'll bet you'll have some success there. So do you have any women that race at either track?
We do, and I forgot to mention, we have a couple sprint cars that are coming this year. We're going to have four actual sprint car races, and that ties in with the women thing, because one of our newest sprint car drivers is a 15-year-old girl out of Kenai. So she's got some big kahunas, because those are some pretty fancy cars. So they're loud and squirrely, and yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch her race last year. She came out and did it twice at the end of the season. So, and she's run dirt for a while. They have a dirt track down in Kenai, but she hasn't run the sprint cars before. So that's going to be kind of neat. But then we have our baby grand driver, Tom, is kind of a very popular lady over at the circle track. And those are our 2 lady racers over there for now.
Okay. But hopefully some more are going to get interested, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. We'll get.
So you'll have to connect me to those 2 gals so we can do a story about them at some point. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So when they told you couldn't race anymore, not because you were pregnant, but after it was after you had your daughter, what did that make you think? It was like, I was sitting here thinking, well, what's that got to do with it? But tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, the funny thing is okay. So I've got 2 kids, right? And so when I was pregnant with Morgan, I stopped racing and started working on track. Where she was born in September, so it was a little bit more pregnant. Teddy's birthday is in January, during the race season, and so and I enjoy what I do. Like I really enjoy racing, but I really love putting the events together and making the orchestration of everything, making it all happen. So when I was pregnant with Teddy, I had also started the roller derby league in Fairbanks. So I was playing roller derby while I was pregnant with Teddy. And I drag raced that season. I won the championship in our open air class. So I don't have a motorcycle, but I was running a snow machine. And I was like, as long as these leathers fit, I'm gonna keep racing, And so I raced the whole season pregnant with him on a snow machine in leathers. And so then when I showed up at the racers banquet, I was all huge, and pregnant. Everybody was like, what? But so it's just, the difference 12 years or so makes. So um, it was just, I don't know. Back then, I mean, when I was pregnant with Morgan, I was a lot younger and it wasn't a big deal. But now I'm like, that just seems silly.
Right.
Racing a truck's got to be safer than anything. So
Exactly. Probably safer than driving on the road nowadays with people texting and driving. And I
yeah.
always, I always think back to when I talk to women that have been in racing for a long time, and they say, "Oh, I wasn't allowed in the pits. Women were not allowed in the pits." Like what? And it's just crazy. But times have really changed, and now we're seeing women do all kinds of jobs in racing, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you, because you run a racetrack. That's not common. It's mostly men, I think, but it's becoming more common that women are running, because we're organized.
Mm-hmm.
We can handle lots of things, multitasking, and really it fits a woman's personality, I would think, a lot of the time. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview you on here. What would you say is the hardest thing about your job?
Um, Probably for me, handling my emotions a little bit, because I do tend to get a little bit more um, emotional about stuff occasionally. See, I'm getting been clumped already. But
Okay. It's close
I
to
mean,
your heart.
there's a lot of a lot of stuff happens at the track. We've got I grew up there, and our track is kind of unique because we are the only racetrack in Alaska pretty much. I mean, there are other racetracks, but for us, we're the only drag strip, we're the only NASCAR sanctioned track. Like, and I've grown up there. I know all of these people. They're my uncles and brothers and sisters, like they're family. And I talk about track family all the time. But so stuff happens. We had a really bad crash 2 seasons ago, and I thought I lost my driver, and it still gets me all like,
It's okay.
and he's such a jerk about it. Sometimes he comes up, and he gives me a big hug and stuff, and he's got they videotaped it, so he's got video of me like crying on the track while we're trying to clean up the mess and stuff. And these guys are our family, and just like family, there's some of them that I don't really like very much, and some of them are kind of jerks. And so keeping emotions in check has always been a challenge for me, trying to make sure that when we're doing drivers meetings and stuff, I'm trying to be a professional and whatever, and not be too much of a baby or whatever. But just trying to make sure that we're out there, and I'm doing the best job, and I want to look like I'm tough and this, badass and all this stuff, but I'm kind of sensitive sometimes too. So, and we get, boys get in arguments in the pits, and I'll get in an argument with somebody, and then I have to like walk away and like cry behind a trailer or something. Not that I cry at the racetrack a lot, but I don't want to be out there just, being all super emotional and, whatever. So
Yeah, and if they know they can make you cry, and it's somebody that maybe you don't get along with that much, then they're going to push your buttons. And so there's a fine balance though, because like you said,
Yeah.
the people that are our race family are sometimes we're closer to them than we are our own family because we spend more time with them or we're going
Mhm.
through a lot of the same experiences together. And our family, if they're not involved in racing, doesn't get that. Now, I've been lucky. Um, my family's involved in racing and has been ever since my son
Mhm.
was younger. And now my granddaughter, she's 16. She's continuing to race. Her sister used to race. So our family's still very involved, but there's a lot of people that,
Mhm.
it's just their little mom, dad, daughter deal, and the rest of the family doesn't get it. And so I always say that I think the racing family, first of all, when I ask people, what is the one thing that you love the most about racing? It's always, almost always, the relationships and the people that they've met. And I know that's going to be what you're going to say as well. I
Yeah.
can already tell. But then, you know, when something happens, that's who's there for you. And it's a whole different deal. My kids
Mhm.
played basketball and baseball and cheerleading, and yeah, we were all friends. And if something had happened to one of the others, we would have been there, but it's not the same as the racing family. Sounds like your track has the
Yeah.
same situation.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why. I mean, we my husband's from Fairbanks, and so that's why we were living up in Fairbanks. And a couple years ago, my mom was kind of sick, and we were driving back after the races one night, and we're headed back up to Fairbanks, and it's a 6-hour drive, and I'm like, why are we doing like why are we not here at the track? And at that time my parents were talking about maybe selling it and stuff, and I was like, we for me, selling the track isn't an option because it changes the relationships for everybody, and our families run it for a very long time, and our family is going to continue to run it because I don't want that to change. We sell it to somebody else who comes in, and it just changes everything for everybody who's there. My brother and his wife live here at the track too. So, and he races. He's got a funny car that he runs, and my husband races, and like our whole everybody is here. And so when we were discussing, my dad turns 80 this month, and it was like, well, what are we gonna, they can't run the racetrack forever. And I was like, we have to come back here and we have to take this over because I can't have this change for everybody, so that's that's why I do it. I mean, it's not like I'm, making a lot of money, and I could be, I don't know what else I do, but it's not, that's not it for me. It's just making sure that all of these people have got this place to grow up and to raise their kids, and for our junior racers to come up and to have that place, and that's just kind of neat for me.
Yeah. And it's the whole tradition thing. So Kalamazoo Speedway is my local track, and I've gotten to be really good friends with
Mhm.
Gary and Donna Howe that own it, and they just sold the track. So now nothing's going to change for this year, and I think Gary's going to ease us all into the transition with the new owners, and the new owner is going to be great. I have no doubt about it because I know that Gary would be very careful about selling his baby to the right person, and I know that he did, and so I'm excited about that part of it. I know that with new owners there's changes, but usually I would hope they'd be for the good. But it it is going to be hard at some point when you go to the racetrack and Gary and Donna are not there, and somebody else is running the tickets and the
Yeah.
concessions and at some point that happens, and the same like we lost I lost my son, and then we lost his very best friend 2 years ago in 2018. His friend Ben was in a car accident, and then my son Ben we had a tragic loss with him. And so you go to the racetrack and you expect to see them walking in the pits or that. It's really hard when there's those changes. And I understand how you feel about, you want it to be the same. You want it to be, you don't want somebody to come in and buy it and then close it. You want to make sure that it's going to be
Yeah.
there for the young people coming up.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
And we do have quite a few junior racers over, at the drag strip. We had, you had asked about the lady racers, and we actually have quite a few ladies that run over at the drag strip, and our junior class is predominantly girls, and they're amazing little drivers. And um, the other summer I had a I don't know, like an aha moment. We were sitting at the campfire one night, after the races, and, having beers and stuff and visiting. And the junior kids came popping over, when they were in hanging out and stuff. And I was like, holy crap, like this is the cycle. Like when I was their age and I was the young kid, and I would come pop out into the fires, and there would be the older racers there, and the people that we looked up to and stuff, and they were sitting there and having fires, and I was like, oh my god, now I'm that person, I'm the older mentor racer or whatever. And it just kind of to see how it all circles around. And I don't know, that's neat.
it is very neat, because really traditionally, racing is probably one of the very few sports, if not the only sport, where the dad may have been in it, now the daughter's in it. You're not going to find that in football or baseball or cheerleading, or maybe basketball is about the only other sport, or track. But really,
Yeah.
racing is really the one sport I can think of where it is handed down most times from generation to generation. Oh, my grandpa raced, my dad raced, and now I'm racing, and now my son is racing. It just seems like it's always follows down to the next generation.
Yep. Yeah, my daughter raced. She had a junior dragster when she was growing up, and she just bought her first car. She got an RT Charger, so that'll be running at the track this summer. I mean, it's not a race car, but she'll still be racing it. And then, we're looking at getting Teddy into racing. He's not so much into it yet. We'll see how if he enjoys it when he's doing it. But he's already talked about, well, do I get to run the racetrack someday? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, do I have to buy it? And I was like, probably not gonna have to buy it. I said, but you're gonna have to work real hard to get it.
Yeah.
So we'll start grooming him.
There you go. Get him doing all those little jobs and make him fall in love with it, just like the rest of us have. So, Michelle, tell me about your
Yeah.
staff or your people that help support the track with sponsorships. Share with me some things about that, about your track. Anybody that you'd like to mention or talk about.
Oh my gosh. So like our big sponsor that we have a really good partnership with Tesoro, which is now owned by Marathon Corporation, which I think Marathon is they're big. They've got places coast to coast, and so we do a really big promo with them. And they just renewed their contract for this season, and so the end of the year, they promote us and stuff during the season, but then after the 1st of July, anybody who goes to their gas station and gets 8 gallons of gas can bring their receipt in, and then they get into the track for free. And so it's a big promo that they do, and it works out really, really well for all of us. And so we're really proud of that partnership with them. And then we have, my gosh, we've got so many sponsors, it's fantastic. We got a really good relationship with Odom and Coca-Cola. So we're at Coca-Cola track, and we usually give away, they help us give away a trip for 2 down to either a NASCAR race or an NHRA race, which is kind of neat. Some exciting stuff. So, and then I don't know, like I could rattle off everybody. We just signed, I don't know if you had known that or not, but we just switched sanctioning on our drag strip from IHRA to NHRA. Okay. So I'm in the process of trying to figure all that stuff out. But that's been really exciting for us. just to be able to be more West Coast orientated. And our racers are already talking about going down to Woodburn for the Division 6 races. And it's just kind of, it's neat. Well, we're looking forward to giving away our first Wallies this year. And then as far as like staff goes, I'm very, very blessed to have an amazing group of people. Our EMT John has been working at the racetrack as long as I have. His daughter and my daughter are the same age, and so he remembers me. So John's been there forever, and his daughter Kelsey, when she started working there as soon as she turned 14, and so she's been working there. Gosh, this is coming up on like 10 years now. And then we just have a lot of really cool people that really love what they do, and I try to tell them that all the time, like how proud I am of them and how happy and honored I am to be working with these people, because they don't come, just like me, they don't work there because of the paycheck. They work there because they love what they do. And I can't thank those guys enough, because there's a lot of moving parts in the racetrack. I've got 40 employees at any given time, and so we're all kind of running around and doing our stuff, and it just makes, they make me look good, because everybody knows what they're doing and everybody's just doing such a great job, and I am really, really honored to have that. So
yeah. You can't do it without those people, and again, it's not because of that paycheck, because we know they could probably go a lot of other places to work that job during that make more, but you do it because it's in your heart and you're passionate about racing. And hey, if you're working there, you get to watch races too, besides getting paid. So you look at it, I'm getting paid to watch the races, which is also fun. But I always want to have to give a shout out to people that work at the track, because a lot of times it is a thankless job from the the people that come and watch the races. They're not always as appreciative of the people working there as they should be, and so I know that you do appreciate those people. So wanted to give you a chance to say something about that. Now I'm interested to say, so your husband and you live 6 hours away, and you said we need to move and go run this racetrack. And so what did he have to say about that? Because he obviously had to change jobs or do something different. So how did you manage that, Michelle?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, I was thinking from the family standpoint, like my parents are getting older, and they're still, dad is up at 6 a.m. and he's out there driving the tractor and doing all the track prep and stuff every day. And he says he's the janitor now, so and mom's still helping out and doing books and stuff like that, but it's I needed to do this, and so that's what I was thinking of. And at the same time, he's sitting in there, and we had just finished, it was like Labor Day weekend or something, and we had just finished packing up and saying bye to everybody. And then we were headed back to Fairbanks, where we're not going to see these people for 9 months, and he was like, these are all of our friends, like this is our family, like why are we driving back? So it wasn't just my idea to do it, it was it was something for him. And at the time, Morgan was a junior or senior in high school, and so we were like, well, it's going to take, we've got a lot of moving parts in Fairbanks too, so it was like, we'll wait till she finishes, because I'm not going to uproot her in the middle of high school. That would be horrible. We got to figure out what we're going to do with our rental properties and the business. And I've been very, very lucky that the girls that I work with at the printing company are, they're just amazing. It's Interior Graphics and Printing PS, if anybody wants to check it out. But they handle everything flawlessly for me. They do such an amazing job, and they make it easy for me. When mom was sick, they were right there, anything that I needed, they were like, just do it. And they operate up there. I do graphics remotely from my office down here, and I go up there every once in a while. And then I'm actually really fortunate that Amanda, who works for me, is going to be purchasing the business this year. So fingers crossed we get that closed up before race season starts. But they've enabled me to do this, which has been really fantastic. And so and even before then, when I was commuting, we opened the circle track in 2016, and so I would work at the print shop during the week and then hop in my car on, Friday or Thursday night and zoom down here and then run the racetrack for a couple days and then hop in my car and go back to the print shop. And it's a lot of driving. So, and I love my Camaro, but I don't really want to spend, that much time on the road with it. So, so they've really, really helped and enabled me to come down here. And Donnie's excited because now, he's right here at the racetrack. He's working on finishing his altered, and we're actually in the process of building the garage mahal out in our front yard. Because he said we needed a shop, and I was like, well, if you're going to build a shop, you should make it as big as we can afford to make it. And it's big. It's 40 by 60, and then we've got a little 20 by 40 mezzanine up on the top, and but now my truck gets to park inside in the wintertime, which will be nice. So
there you go. And I love that your husband's on board and wants to do it, and it's a partnership, because that doesn't work either. If one person's going this way and the other person's going the other way, that doesn't work. But you both are on the same path, and you're growing the track, and you've added the circle track, and so that's growing. So it looks like you're in it for the long haul, which I love to see.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me anything else. What have I not asked you about that is unique about having a racetrack in Alaska, or just about your track in general, or tell us a little bit more about exactly where would they, what's it called? How would somebody be like, hey, I want to go race in Alaska, to say that I've done it? So tell us, where is it at, and how could we find you on social media, all those kinds of things.
Okay. Well, so the racetrack is just outside of Anchorage. So if you come up here, you fly up, come up, you can fly in and, rent a car if you want, race a rental car. I've been throwing it out there. I'm like, if anybody big wants to come up, come up and we'll find you something to race. We've actually got a couple, cars on the circle track that are available if people wanted to come and say they raced. We had Kenny Schrader came up 2 summers ago, and he raced up here. Perry Patino and Jordan Anderson and Jake Griffin came up last year and raced here at the track. So I need to come up with I don't know, some sort of cool, like, I raced at Alaska Raceway Park sticker or logo or something. So
Or the t-shirt.
Anybody's got any ideas on yeah, something.
Yeah.
I went to Alaska Raceway Park and all I got was a t-shirt. So
Right.
I know it's
cool.
It's neat. You've seen pictures of the track. It is by far, and I'm partial because it's my track, but it's the most beautiful racetrack I think ever. We have when you're going down the drag strip, it looks like you're going to go right into the base of Pioneer Peak, and off behind the circle track, we're 10 miles away from the glacier, so you can actually hop on a 4-wheeler or a Jeep or whatever and go down there, check the glacier out. There's eagles, and we have moose at the track and fox, and it's very picturesque, but it's also a really amazing facility. And we work really hard to try to keep it modern and updated and clean and as nice as we possibly can. So if people want to check it out online, our website is raceak.com, nice and short and sweet. Our hashtag is raceak, Twitter and Facebook. And I'm drawing a blank right now. Instagram, all those things are at Alaska Raceway or at Alaska Raceway Park. On Facebook, if you check that out, I've been doing a kind of a Tuesday tech talk. I started that in January, and so every Tuesday I do a little video and kind of tell people, like, we talked about chassis certs and licensing and what's coming up and stuff. So we're really active. There's a lot of videos and a lot of pictures, and we do a lot of live feeds and stuff like that. So we've got a lot of stuff on our social media. So check all that stuff out. And all my contact info's on there too, so you guys can shoot me an email or give me a call if you shoot me a text, whatever. But yeah, this has been really exciting, and I really appreciate what you do for motorsports too.
Well, I definitely want to put it on my list of places to go because I've never been to Alaska. My parents went to Alaska for an anniversary trip many, many, many years ago. And my mother always said it was the most beautiful place she'd ever been. So Alaska would certainly be on my list of places that I want to and visit, especially when I know you have women not only in charge, but also racing there. So that's always a benefit for me. So check out Alaska Raceway Park. Michelle and her family are the owners. They run the track. You can tell from talking with her or listening to her today that she has definitely got her heart and 100% involved in this track. And that's what has to happen to keep these tracks going and to provide a space for not only people that are older to race, but a place for the younger generation to come and be groomed and learn the proper things about racing and just continue the sport, because we certainly don't want it to die. And for you to be able to keep that track going and provide a spot is so important for the people of Alaska, because I don't know where else they would go to race. It wouldn't be any place close, and you couldn't probably get your car there very easy. So, Michelle, I appreciate what you do and your family and all the things that you do to keep racing going. And thank you so much for coming and meeting me at PRI. I really enjoyed meeting you and getting to talk to you today. So is there any last words or anything else you'd like to share?
I do want to give a shout out to our junior racers that are headed down to the NHRA races in Phoenix. One of our little, if anybody's headed out that way, Shelby Roy is going to be going down. She's one of our lady junior drivers. She's out of Seward, which is like 3 hours south of here. They're super dedicated, but they're packing up all their cars and stuff, and they're headed down to the races down there. And if you see the little kids from Alaska, say hi. But thank you very much for interviewing me and for promoting all of the stuff that you do in motorsports. I've been following you on all your social media, and it's not, it's about the ladies that are doing it, but you talk about a lot of other really important things too. And I really appreciate all of that information that you're providing. And I look forward to seeing you at PRI again next year, hopefully. So
yeah.
It should be good.
It should be good.
And if you want to come back, I've got a guest room.
Okay, well, I'm going to hold you to it, because I will probably take you up on the guest room, and definitely want to try to put that on my list of places.
Yep.
Because that would just be way fun to come up there. So, Michelle, good luck this season. Hope you have great weather and that you have good turnouts at all your races. And I'm definitely going to be following what you're doing and sharing it to my page so that everybody can keep track of Michelle and the people at Alaska Raceway Park. And so thanks again. Enjoy the daylight. I know you said it's getting more, you're getting about 7 minutes more every day of daylight. And so yay, I know that sunshine is a big benefit. We've actually got a little bit of sun in Michigan today, which is pretty unusual too. So but take care and enjoy the season, and we'll keep track of you.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Racing Girls Rock Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at International Women's Motorsports Association. or on Instagram and Twitter at the IWMA Nation. And if you know someone that should be on our show, drop us an email at iwmanation@gmail.com.